Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on March 17, 2025. This meeting considered agenda items to approve negotiating a development plan for 35 homes at 2857 Packard Road, rezoning and a site plan to expand an affordable housing community on South Maple, issuing $12 million in bonds to fund a new fire station on Huron Parkway, establishing the governing structure for an opt-in sustainable energy utility, amending city code to permit theaters and pinball parlors outside of campus areas, dissolving the design review board and permitting exterior insulation, and building city-owned parking decks to meet the needs of a private development at Arbor South. There is no video record of this meeting, and much of the audio recording is garbled or inaudible. For viewers at home and those who attempted to participate by phone, access to this meeting was extremely limited. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on March 17, 2025. Councilmember Cynthia Harrison from Ward 1 was absent. This was her 9th absence since taking office in November 2022. There was one split vote on an amendment to ordinance changes related to the use of exterior insulation. It was defeated, and all agenda items were approved unanimously. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at a2council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. 10 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. Their remarks are inaudible in the recording due to technical difficulties. This week, the consent agenda included 23 items and expenditures of over $37.5 million. One item was pulled for discussion. Council considered a resolution directing negotiations in support of development at 2857 Packard. This parcel has been the subject of controversy since 2017, when City Council unanimously voted down a site plan that included 51 homes, but would have destroyed most of the trees on site. That vote led to litigation. At a meeting in November 2019, Council considered and rejected the idea of purchasing the land, then approved a consent judgment with the goal of sparing 75 trees on the parcel. That consent judgment would have permitted the construction of 51 homes covering most of the parcel. This week, City Council considered a new plan that will clear the entire site to make room for 35 homes.
This consent agenda item asks Council to authorize Mr. Dehoney, our City Administrator, to seek an alternative development proposal. And that alternative would be sought in view of a concept plan from a developer that is attached to the agenda. That concept proposes to develop the site with fewer than 51 homes, all single-family detached. It would offer a housing typology that the city desires, which is single-family one-story home or one-floor homes.
There was actually interest from another developer in this site or in this property, and at the time was proposing kind of a multi-story sustainable development at the site. Unfortunately, that proposal did not come together. The city was quite interested in moving forward.
Councilmember Rodino was referencing the Canopy, a development proposed in 2022. The project proposed by local sustainability advocate Matt Grokoff would have placed a 5-story building of 51 to 70 housing units on the north end of the parcel and spared nearly all of the trees. The project would have required a public-private partnership and city commitments, which never happened. This week, council members explained.
Unfortunately, the reality was that proposal never was able to move forward. My understanding is that the developer at the time was not able to secure funding for the proposal, and as a result, we weren't able to move forward with it. My understanding is that a final plan would ultimately have to come back and be approved by this body.
Council unanimously approved a resolution directing the city administrator to negotiate terms to spare trees and promote sustainability features in the development of 35 single-family homes. Council considered 2 agenda items, a rezoning, site plan and development agreement for 1146 South Maple. This location will expand an affordable housing community on South Maple called Hickory Way. The property will be zoned as a planned unit development with 4 stories and elevator access. It will provide 39 units of affordable housing, all 1-bedroom.
Not only is this a 100% affordable housing project, but at least 35% of the units will be accompanied by supportive services. In addition, it will meet National Green Building Silver Standard, which is Green Plus Net Zero or equivalent. It will be all electric and energy efficient building envelope with high performance windows and energy efficient fixtures and equipment.
The rezoning, site plan, and development agreement were approved unanimously. After a brief introduction, Council unanimously approved the issuance of $12 million in capital improvement bonds to build a new fire station on Huron Parkway. Without discussion, Council unanimously approved updates to the City Fire Code to incorporate the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code. Council then considered ordinance amendments that will facilitate the establishment of a sustainable energy utility, as approved by voters in November 2024.
We are setting up the structure for the SEU. We will fill the structure with people who are committed and excited to provide high quality, 100% renewable, reliable energy service to customers in Ann Arbor, folks who choose to join. And I think that the SEU, the A2SEU, is a thing that members of the public will, over a course of time, be incredibly excited and proud about. It's a great and good thing, and I'm so glad that we're moving it on forward to second reading.
It was approved unanimously. After a brief introduction, Council unanimously approved first reading of ordinance amendments that will permit theaters and pinball parlors in more areas of the city. Currently, these uses are restricted specifically to campus areas. Moving forward, they will be permitted in the same places as general entertainment. At a future meeting, these amendments will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council considered two ordinance amendments together. One will wholly eliminate a body of review for building development site plans, and the other will permit a type of exterior insulation that is currently prohibited. The process of approval for downtown developments currently includes review by the Design Review Board. The board meets with developers to consider and advise on how to meet downtown design guidelines. As prescribed in its bylaws, the board includes expertise from landscape architects, urban planners, developers, and contractors. Council discussed the value of dissolving it so that developments can be approved more quickly.
The Design Review Board adds a month or more to the development process, and the reason is that it has to comply with the Open Meetings Act, which has posting requirements. An additional reason is that the citizen participation meeting has to happen after the DRB meeting. That meeting also has to be noticed 10 days prior to submittal of site plan currently.
A year ago, City Council, as part of our economic development package of resolutions, specifically voted unanimously to direct the city administrator to bring forward changes to our development process that would remove mandatory design review board meetings. This was a clear and deliberate decision aimed at making it faster, easier, and less costly to build new housing, something we all agreed was urgently needed.
I think this is the right move to shift the responsibility to professional planning staff and to, if we need to address the guidelines at some other point, we've got a big UDC rewrite coming, so we can address that then. So I'll be voting to eliminate tonight.
Councilmember Briggs acknowledged the community concern around the need for additional design review, but was unwilling to vote against a majority.
What I consistently have heard, probably more than anything else about design, about building in our community, is design. And so I have been interested in figuring out ways that we might be able to address that. And currently, we have a commission that is comprised of design professionals and great folks that are volunteering their time with the community. And sometimes it's nice to engage folks while they're still working and volunteering with the city and get their thoughts and their insight. I don't think that there's support for that. And I think there's maybe concerns about taking that approach. And so I'm not going to vote no on this tonight. However, my concerns remain, and I think the community concerns at large remain around this issue.
The second ordinance change, one that will permit the use of exterior insulation finishing systems, prompted confusion among council members and the suggestion that it be removed to be considered later.
I have no idea what section this is.
It's the second.
Yeah. Yep. I couldn't find it within the ordinance itself, so I wasn't sure.
For my part, I'd be disinclined to do that at this stage, not knowing why it came in the first place, and would, just as the sort of thing that we could remove at second reading without kicking it back to first reading
Can we?
once we learn more about it.
An amendment to remove that ordinance change failed, and both elements were approved unanimously at first reading. At a future meeting, the amendments will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Without discussion, Council voted unanimously to postpone a resolution directing the city administrator to negotiate with the developer of Arbor South to buy property and build $146 million in city-owned parking decks at State and Eisenhower. Finally, Council unanimously approved changes to the meeting calendar to add a work session on April 17th and reschedule an August meeting from Monday to Thursday. Council went into closed session for about 1 hour. The meeting adjourned before 10:15 p.m. For more details about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
Discussion, please, of CA 10. Councilmember Dish.
These on or off?
They're not on.
They're not on, so I will use my large audience.
Yes.
So 2850,
Councilmember Dish?
7.7 acre wooded.
Mayor,
Hold on for a quick sec.
the CTN booth is telling me that even though they're not broadcasting, if you turn them on, it may help with a later replay of he's trying to record.
Okay,
If
great.
that makes
Then
sense.
I'll turn it on and still
Still use your big person
still
voice.
try to project. So